I didn't want a hospital birth. I'd had a miscarriage the year before, cold lights, white walls, no warmth. And when I found out I was pregnant again, I knew I couldn't go through that environment a second time. My friend recommended a birthing centre out in the countryside, said it was different, peaceful, natural, healing. The place was run by an old midwife named Miriam. She was unlike anyone I'd ever met, draped in deep indigo saris, silver bangles layered up both arms, hair long and white like candle smoke. Her voice was soft, lilting, accented in a way I couldn't place. Maybe Eastern European, or older, deeper. She didn't use machines, no ultrasounds, no IVs, just herbs and teas, stone bowls, singing bowls, and these strange rituals, chants in a language I couldn't identify. I told myself it was all part of the charm, that nature knew what it was doing. But when the time came, nature didn't help me. Labour started in the middle of the night, weeks early. Everything was pain, then blackness, then flashes of the birthing room's flickering candlelight. I remember screaming, vomiting, Miriam holding my hand with both of hers, murmuring to something I couldn't see. Then, silence. My baby, my son, came out limp. No cry, no breath, just this awful stillness. I was barely conscious, but I know what I saw. Miriam took him, cradled him, leaned close to his ear and whispered something, not in English, not in any human tongue I've ever heard. It was rhythmic and guttural, ancient and wet-sounding, a string of syllables that felt wrong, like they should never be spoken aloud. And then he gasped, screamed, and everyone cried out in relief. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to thank her. But Miriam just looked at me with that heavy, infinite stare, and nodded. The next morning, she was gone, vanished. No forwarding address, the birthing centre was locked, the windows boarded up. Authorities said it hadn't been officially registered in years, like it had just appeared for me and me alone. I took my baby home. And for a while, everything was fine, but strange things started happening. Animals wouldn't come near him. Lights flickered when he got upset. He never cried, but sometimes I'd wake in the night and find him staring at corners, whispering to them. By age 2, he could speak in full sentences. By 3, he told me he remembered being somewhere before this. A dark place, wet and warm. Listening. I took him to doctors, therapists. Everyone said he was gifted, just imaginative. I wanted to believe them, but tonight, on his 5th birthday, he fell asleep in my bed. And as I was drifting off beside him, I heard him whisper, the same words Miriam spoke to him, the same wet, foreign syllables. Exactly. I sat up fast. I was going to wake him, but something else answered. From the corner of the room, a whisper, not in words, but in feeling, cold and ancient and hungry. I turned on every light. I haven't turned them off since. He's still sleeping peacefully, smiling, like it is visiting him in dreams. I don't know what Miriam did. I don't know if she saved my son or claimed him for something else. All I know is that every night that whisper gets louder, and I'm running out of time before he understands what it's saying. My son whispered those ancient words again last night. Something answered. This time it didn't leave. The first time it whispered back, I told myself it was a dream, that I'd been half asleep and imagining things. But the next night it spoke again. And this time I wasn't asleep. Jamie was curled beside me in bed, breathing softly. I couldn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening. At 3:14 a.m, his lips moved. The same guttural chant Miriam had whispered into his ear 5 years ago, now coming from my son's tiny mouth. The sounds were slow, ritualistic, strung together like steps in a dance too old to understand. Then another voice answered, not from his mouth, from the corner of the room. It was a whisper, but it didn't sound like it came from a human throat. It rasped, clicked. It crawled across the air like dry leaves dragging over stone. I turned on the lamp instantly. No one was there, but Jamie opened his eyes and smiled. She's closer now, he said. I tried to ask who, tried to stay calm, but he rolled over and went back to sleep like nothing had happened. In the morning, he didn't remember a thing, or pretended not to. He ate cereal, watched cartoons, drew pictures in crayon, black trees, red moons, and something with too many arms. When I asked what it was, he said, she says not to tell you yet. I don't know who she is. I don't think I want to know. But whatever it is, it's not imaginary. It's not pretend, and it's not leaving. I found the old birthing centre again. It was supposed to be condemned, but the front door creaked open with just a push. Inside, dust lay thick over everything. Candle wax had hardened into rivers down the walls, and the smell, like burnt leaves and rust. I searched every room until I found a locked drawer in Miriam's old writing desk. Inside was a notebook, handmade, leather-bound, dozens of pages of symbols, herbs, and, most importantly, the chant. It wasn't a name, it was a key, a call, a way of inviting something in. The note below it, scrawled in faded ink, read, "Only the willing may become the vessel, but a child, untouched, unknowing, can become the gate." I dropped the book. I wanted to scream, to vomit, to burn it, but I took it with me instead, because I needed to know what had been done to my son. That night, I locked Jamie's door from the outside. I sat in the hallway with the monitor on my lap, a flashlight in one hand, the notebook in the other. For hours, nothing. Then, just after 2 a.m, the monitor buzzed. Jamie was sitting up in bed, eyes open, mouth shut. But the other voice, same one that whispered back before, was speaking, clearly, in that same ancient language. Except this time, Jamie answered back, like they were having a conversation, like he understood it now. I burst into the room. There was no one there. Jamie was lying back down, fast asleep. But the closet door, it creaked open slowly, by itself. I stepped toward it with the flashlight, heart hammering so loud I could barely breathe. Inside, nothing, just clothes. But something had been there. The smell of mildew and wet stone was thick in the air, and on the wall, drawn in something dark, mud, or maybe something worse, was the same spiral symbol from the notebook, with a word written under it, open. The next day, Jamie wouldn't eat. He just sat at the window, staring at the trees. "She's almost through," he whispered. I didn't ask who. I didn't want to hear the answer. Instead, I waited until he was asleep that night and whispered the chant back to him. The same words Miriam had said, the same ones I had memorized in fear. I wanted to see what would happen, to test it. As soon as I finished, Jamie's eyes shot open, but they were all black. Not just the pupils, the entire eyes. He stared at me and said, in a voice not his own, "You should not speak what you don't understand." Then he blinked, and his eyes were normal again. And he cried. He curled into me and sobbed like the little boy he is. And between gasps he whispered, "She's hurting me, Mummy. Please make her stop." I'm writing this now, because I don't know how much longer I'll be myself. I don't know what she is or what she wants, but she's inside my child, watching through his eyes, learning, stretching, and she's almost done waiting. Something came through the wall last night. Not a body, a shape, a ripple in the air like heat above asphalt. It pressed its head against mine while I pretended to sleep, and whispered, with Jamie's voice, "One more night. I don't know what happens then, but I don't think I'll survive it, and I don't think she wants me to."